All right, that was former Fed head Ben Bernanke telling our Maria Bartiromo, I guess it's going to be on Wall Street Week, that, wait a minute, the markets simply got ahead of themselves, and now there's a comeuppance. Now, that's not apparently the case today. A read on all of this and whether tax cuts delayed, healthcare delayed, is going to mean the rally denied. To market watchers Steve Cortez, Tim Evans, and D.R. Barton. D.R. to you then on that, is the former Federal Reserve Chairman right? Are we going to have to unwind this now?
Well, Neil, this market that we've seen since 2009, if we're being honest, and especially in the last 18 months, has been the most hated bull market in history. But every time we get a little burp like we did on Wednesday, down 1.5%, biggest down day in 8 months, the market finds the resilience to say we're still optimistic about the big three, about reduced taxes, about reduced regulation, and about increased infrastructure spending. So as long as that narrative is in place, and we're seeing it today, risk on with the infrastructure plays, the banks are rebounding strongly today. So we're seeing this Trump trade kind of triumvirate still pulling us through.
Are they just being naively bullish then, Tim? Or what do you see happening here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really dealing with a situation where it's politics kind of versus fundamentals. I mean, the market fundamentals have actually been pretty good. I mean, this week the market's had a lot to work with. I mean, we've had, Philly Fed number, jobless claims number, right, industrial production numbers that all beat expectations. We've seen corporate earnings coming in stronger than expected. I think revenues on average are 1% over expectations. 5-year to 10-year average on that is normally flat to maybe 0.1% higher. So there's a lot for bulls to work with here. But, the President Trump just can't seem to get out of his own way. The agenda that he set forth and that the market, began pricing in, yeah, I mean, naturally there's going to be a lot of doubt here. And I think the market's going to have to battle that, fundamental case versus the political case here over the intermediate term.
Steve Cortez, the markets certainly are putting up a good face in the face of this, just like Republicans are, saying that they're going to continue on this tax cut direction. Kevin Brady, the man who runs House Ways and Means, telling me as much yesterday that they're still going full throttle on these tax cuts. So health care rework as well. Even Speaker Ryan says if it means a measure after CBO scoring that goes back to them, they ship it back out to the Senate. But that on top of a budget that they say, or the Trump folks say, will balance in 10 years. In other words, they're still proceeding past all this FBI fixation and the Russia thing and all. What do you make of that?
Right. Well, Neil, I think one of the reasons the market has, correctly bounced back over the last couple of days is exactly what you're talking about. We got prominent Republicans to talk very optimistically on the Hill. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, went to the Hill himself to rally the troops. And I really believe, and I say this as a Trump partisan, I think the special counsel is a great thing, actually, for the White House. Number one, because I believe he'll eventually find no collusion. But
by the way,
nearer term,
Nancy Pelosi isn't happy with that. She wants to extend it to an independent commission. But go ahead.
Sure. But number two, I think more importantly for investors and for the economy, I think what the special counsel is going to do is give the White House a very legitimate reason to not talk about these ridiculous accusations anymore. And when the mainstream media tries to lob these scurrilous attacks from unnamed anonymous sources, they can quite rightly say that is under investigation. That is the responsibility of Mr. Mueller. Let's get back to the meat and potatoes of the Trump agenda, which is the economy, immigration, health care. So I think it's a reset button that's going to be incredibly politically beneficial and then ultimately economically beneficial, which certainly the stock market believes in.
All right, real quickly, guys, D.R. Barton to you then. We had a former prosecutor on here says this investigation on Mueller's part could take 12 to 18 months. Could the markets deal with 12 to 18 months of that kind of uncertainty? D.R.
I think so, because if it's 12 to 18 months, and as Steve just said, that allows the White House to push all this aside and to stick to the knitting to get after this economic agenda. I think, yeah, as long as they do, if they can keep concentrating on that.
Okay, Tim, what do you think? 12 to 18 months, long time.
It is a long time. In terms, looking at it from a market perspective, I think that would weigh on the market heavily. I mean, I think the market had priced in, the likelihood that we were going to see those tax cuts, both individual and corporate, before the end of the year. So if this movement kind of stalls that or slows the momentum of that, where that does not occur this year, that will have a big impact on the overall market.
All right, after 12 to 18 months and it's found there's no Russian connection, Steve, then what? What do the markets do with that?
Well, I think the market flies in the meantime, is my guess, by the way, because, again, I really believe that the special counsel is going to allow the administration to effectively table this issue. They won't have to constantly respond to all these ludicrous accusations. And let's get back to the reason that the Trump administration was elected, which is economic growth, particularly for working class Americans. And within 12 to 18 months, I think we'll start to see the fruits of those policies. Republicans win big in the midterms. Then Mueller says no collusion, and we're off to the races even more.
All right, we'll see. All right, guys, thank you very, very much. And if these gentlemen are right, then this cover would be proven wrong. And I saved magazine covers, just like I saved the ones from the 1970s when I was a kid that talked about the great global freeze to come. And I keep popping them up there because the same crowd that worries about global warming, well, back then they were worried about freezing. I'm not saying they're wrong with this. I like to go back in time and save this cover because it's a dangerous cover.